Hey guys, Triple B here. We've got a news video today covering some reveals from the upcoming set Pokemon 151. I'm sorry I haven't done one of these videos in a bit, and if it's something that you're interested in, please let me know in the comments down below, and I'll make sure to make one of these videos at least once a week just to kind of round up what's been revealed and what news is going on. If it's not really something you're into though, if you're more so here just for the deck list, also just let me know because I'm trying to make this content for you guys, so if it's not something you care about, no point in making it. And if it's something you're really keen on, then absolutely, we'll make more of an effort to make sure there's more of it for you. But we are getting to see the Venusaur, Charizard, and Blastoise cards that have been revealed, as well as their pre-evolutions. So the Bulbasaur, it's got Leech Seed, 20 damage, a grass, and a colorless, also heals 20 from itself. Pretty cool since it is its unique attack in the games, or not its unique attack, but I guess one of its signature attacks. It's like that and Razor Leaf. It's going to evolve into Ivysaur. Unfortunately, the Ivysaur is a 100 HP Pokemon, so it's not going to be replacing the one that's currently seeing play in GLC. You're still going to have to pay a premium for the old one, but pretty cool that we are getting it. It's a mid-evolution. You're usually going to rare candy. You're not going to even play this. If you are even going to be playing the Venusaur, though, I know Bulbasaur is pretty cool. A lot of people do have him close to their heart, so if he's your favorite starter, I'm sorry, but the Venusaur looks a little bit lackluster. At least that's my view on it. Happily be proven wrong if you have a deck list in mind that you're keen on. But the Venusaur, it's got an ability, Soothing Bloom, one string or turn. If it's in the active spot, heals 60 from one of your Pokemon. It's not a lot. It's also awkward that it needs to be in the active, and it's only once per turn. When we're seeing things like Garganacl that's coming out in Paldea Evolve, that at Pokemon Checkup, so between each turn, heal 20 damage from all of your guys, and it's a single prizer, whereas this is 60 damage from one thing and it needs to be in the active, and it's a two prizer, it's a bit awkward. It does kind of seem like this is the lesser of the two if you are going for a healing deck. Obviously, this does have a pretty solid attack though, and Potent Whip, doing 150 damage, and your opponent's active Pokemon is now poisoned and confused. So they might not even be able to hit you, and they're going to be taking damage, and you can scale that damage up with Sneasler. So it's an interesting card. Be two-shotting into things, but I don't know. If you're a believer in the Venusaur, please let me know, but I'm kind of leaning towards the other two. The Charizard looks pretty sweet. Charmander has Burn Down, discard a Stadium in play, and then Steady Fire Breathing, 30 damage for double fire. Charmeleon, same thing. It's a stage 1. We're going to be skipping over it most of the time, but it does have 2 attacks. One does 20 damage, one does 90 damage, and discard an energy from it for 3 fire energy. It's a little bit costly. And then the Charizard EX has an attack for just 1 energy, Resolute Wings. It's going to do 60 damage, and if it's got any damage counters on it, 100 more. So 160. You can use Magma Basin to get damage counters on this. Easy. It charges up the attack. It sets up the attack. It's value. You can also be using the Rapidash from Silver Tempest to discard a fire energy and scale this damage up. It could definitely see play. Its second attack though, Detonating Vortex, doing 330 damage. I don't think you really need to worry about running this Rapidash, because you're more so going to be concerned about running it with Charizard from Pokemon Go to pay this attack cost. 2 fire energy effectively, counting as 4 when you've got the Pogozard in play. 330 damage, discard 3 energy from this Pokemon, so you just have to discard 2. Following turn, just attach return, Basin, you're good to go again, and just kind of have 2 pivoting into each other, or an Arm Rouge on the bench to just be moving stuff to the active. It's definitely a solid combo that could be played. Will it? I don't know. Has the potential to one-shot, and people like Charizard, so I'm sure someone's going to make it work, and it definitely seems like it's got potential though. Squirtle lineup, we do have Squirtle with Withdraw, flip a coin. If heads during your opponent's next turn, he's invincible. Gotta love a tough little turtle like that. Wartortle, though, has Free Dive. Put up to 3 basic water energy from your discard pile into your hand. Pretty solid, especially with Baxcalibur coming out. It's a great way to recover energy and then be able to push it back out. We do have Energy Retrieval, though, which isn't an attack. It's an item card, so just use that instead. But it's interesting that there is an alternative, especially since it will combo nicely with Blastoise EX. Its attack, Twin Cannons, does 140 damage, but you have to discard up to 2 water energy cards from your hand to do it. So the Wartortle can be recovering the energy, I think is kind of the idea there. And yeah, it does 280. It's not bad. You can one-shot V-Stars. Doesn't really have a great way to take out V-Maxes though. Like I guess Choice Belt, you can get up to 310, one-shot a Mew. It's pretty cool. And the fact that this and the Charizard can kind of hit into each other. Like Charizard can one-shot the Blastoise if it's got Path to the Peak in play. Blastoise does have an ability, Solid Shell, making it take 30 less damage. Effectively, it's a 360 HP guy. If they're trying to two-shot it, it's a 390 HP guy. He's a big turtle. And then Blastoise obviously hitting weakness into Charizard. It's, yeah, you just drown that dragon. He's gone. We've got some interesting trainer cards coming out as well, though. So Snatch Arm, you get to look at your opponent's hand, choose a Pokemon you find there, and put it on the bottom of your opponent's deck. Maybe in a control deck, this will see some play. And then as well as Leftovers as a Pokemon tool card. If the Pokemon that this is attached to is in the active spot, the end of your turn, heal 20 from that Pokemon. Kind of interesting. So if you do have bulky things that you're trying to keep alive, maybe even that Venusaur, it's just sitting in the active, healing itself. Leftovers is healing itself. Or in that Garganacl I mentioned, if we have multiple of them and then one of these on something in the active, it's like, hey, 4 Garganacl on this, healing 100 damage each turn. It's pretty cool. We also get Erika's Invitation. Your opponent reveals their hand. Choose a basic Pokemon you find there and put it on. You also have Erika's Invitation. Your opponent reveals their hand. You get to pick a basic Pokemon you find there and put it onto their bench. Definitely an intimidating card with control decks making a comeback. I know Sander's going to find some way to make this a broken card. And yeah, not looking forward to that. We did also get some reveals of the gym leader cards, essentially. So Raichu being Lieutenant Surge's signature Pokemon, we're getting to see what it does. It has an ability in grounding. When one of your Pokemon's knocked out from damage from an opponent's attack, you can move a basic lightning energy card from that Pokemon to this Pokemon. Interesting ability. There isn't really anything in the format right now that really like shouts out, hey, this is going to be good. But I could see this if it had like that Nuzzle attack, like we had that Nuzzle Raichu, the more lightning energy in play, the more damage it does. If we get a reprint of a card similar to that, like we used to have Bolt and V, this could definitely be a key card to have in that deck to just keep things in play. Because you have the ability, you attach an experience share, it keeps 2 energy when something's getting knocked out, and then it scales up damage. Definitely an interesting concept, and I'm sure in the life of this card, it's got 3 years essentially, we'll see some sort of attack like that come into play. Its attack though, Thunder, 180 damage, does 50 damage to itself. Not great, a little bit risky and pretty expensive to pay for, but effectively grounding, attach for turn. We could get it charged up. Also Flaffy to get it going, but you're not one-shotting anything really. 180 is an awkward number. To be relevant, you basically want to hit 240 because then Choice Belt brings it to 270. Halucha brings it to 280. You can one-shot V-Stars. Obviously, you hit weakness into Lugia. There's a thought there, but we have another Raichu that when they use a V-Star power does 140 and one-shots Lugia. So that's definitely the better of the two at the moment. We're also seeing Onyx being Brock's signature Pokemon. So I really like that they're kind of revealing these as like the gym leaders. Pretty cool. Double colorless energy, Thumping Avalanche. You get to discard the top 5 cards of your deck, and it's going to do 80 damage for each Pokemon with a retreat cost of exactly 4 that you discard in this way. Pretty interesting. You can obviously be paying this with double turbo energy. You're doing 20 less, but if you hit 5 guys, you're doing 400. 20 less from 400 is still killing everything. So yeah, it's fine. And I'm trying to think what 4 retreat cost Pokemon we have, because you could run it with like evolution things just to guarantee that you're only ever starting the Onyx. Bunch of like energy lottos to make sure you're getting into DTEs. It's definitely a concept for a deck there, and I'm pretty keen to see what we can come up with when it gets released. We did also get to see the Staryu and Starmie, so Misty's signature Pokemon. Staryu having Swift does 30 damage. This attack damage isn't affected by weakness or resistance or by any effects. It's 30 damage. Kind of irrelevant, but hey, it shreds. And then Starmie has an ability in Aquatic Enigma. Once during your turn, you can put 2 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. If you place any damage counters on them, though, you discard this Pokemon and all cards attached to it. It has 90 HP, so you can get it back with Rescue Carrier and be repeating it. So if you're looking for ways to fix up numbers, there's definitely a concept there. Seems like you'd probably just go for Gapejaw Bog, though. So when they're benching basics, takes 20 damage. Alakazam can move them around, but this is another alternative that you can be using and essentially just replaces that Flapple we used to have. We're also seeing the Victory Bell and Tangela line. So Erika's signature guys, I think. She also had a Vileplume, which I don't think we've seen Vileplume, but from that scan, there was a scan that showed every card in the set. Very, very small though, but it looks like the Vileplume has an ability, so pretty keen when that comes out to see what that's about. The Bellsprout lineup, though, nothing really to write home about. It's got cut, got bind down, 20 damage during your opponent's next turn. They can't retreat. Weeping Bell, it's a card. There's already a Weeping Bell that when you evolve up into it, it burns and confuses them. So I feel like if you were going to run Victory Bell, you're running that Weeping Bell. And typically you're using Rare Candy anyways, but having a mid Pokemon with an ability, that's going to be the one you're going to. Victory Bell, though, has Spit Out, 50 damage, 1 energy, as well as Delayed Acid. Does 120 damage, and at the end of your opponent's next turn, put 12 more damage counters on that Pokemon. It's not poisoning them, meaning we can't be using like Radiant Sneasler to scale up damage, but it's also not poisoning them. So it means things that can remove status conditions or prevent them. So I think there's a single strike energy that's like, if this is attached, they can't be poisoned. It gets around that. Maybe it sees play, but I don't know. It's still an effect on their Pokemon, so they can evolve through it. They can retreat through it. You're on a stage 2. You're only doing 240. It's a card. We'll leave it at that. And then we're also seeing Tangela that has Winding Manners, does 10 damage. If you played Erika's Invitation from your hand, another 60 damage. So 70 damage for 1 energy. Not bad. Does also have a really cool trainer gallery art. I like that. I wonder if we're going to get a lot of these. Like, do you think we're going to get 151 trainer gallery cards? That'd be cool. I doubt it, but it'd be cool. We'll have to see. I don't think that's been announced anywhere. If you've heard anything, let me know. New stadium card though, Cycling Road. Once during each player's turn, they can discard a basic energy card from their hand and draw a card. Essentially like a budget Greninja. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Road versus Frog. I don't know. I think Frogger gets this one, but like the stadium's all right. And for decks that just need a counter stadium, something to bump path, but there's nothing else they really want to run, having something to draw energy, sweet. Like maybe Gardevoir, this becomes an alternative and instead of spending $300 on Champion's Path. Is it better? No, but it's definitely an option. So it's cool that we're getting it. We've also seen the fossil Pokemon, which I'm pretty keen on actually. They're all very interesting. The Omanyte line, it's got Tentacle Return, 50 damage, put an energy attached to your opponent's active into their hand. Kind of silly. 2 water energy, and it's effectively Crushing Hammer, but it's guaranteed. Evolves into Omastar that has an ability that as long as this is in the active spot, your opponent's Pokemon can't retreat. So similar to that Pokemon Go Snorlax, but this one actually has some relevant attacks. Aqua Split does 90 damage and then 30 damage to 2 of the opponent's bench Pokemon. So we can just be gusting something up that has a lot of health and slowly be chipping it down while finishing off little things on the bench. It's interesting. A lot of decks are running high counts of Switch, so things like Lost Box, they can obviously just use Switch, Escape Rope, and get around this. But other decks like Gardevoir that are fully reliant on just paying retreat costs, it's a funny way that you could lock them out of the game. Like bring up a Gardevoir EX into the active once they've attached all the energy to a Zacian, and then it's just like, all right, it's going to take me 4 shots to kill this Gardevoir, and I'm going to weaken everything on your bench, or I'm going to kill 2 Curlias off your bench in the process. It's definitely a concept to be played around with there. The Kabutops line, we're getting Kabuto that has double scratch, 70 damage for 2 coin flips. If they're both heads, 70 damage for each, so effectively 140 for a fighting and a colorless. Interesting. Something to keep in mind, these are stage 1 Pokemon as well, so if you did want to run fossil decks, you could run Zoroark to kind of skip over the fossils for these. Kabutops has the ability Ancient Logic. You're going to be quadrupling weakness instead of doubling it. So super effective glasses are great. I just made a deck list with Kecleon running them. They're pretty cool. Kabutops, it's just like, yeah, let's check another one on there. I like that. I really like that, actually. Weakness is kind of a tricky one, though, with so many different deck types seeing play at the moment. Like, Dialga is making a comeback. Palkia, it looks like it's going to be making a comeback. When we get that next set, we're going to be seeing, can't think of their names, but there's the fighting type one and there's the ice type one. So, like, Steel weakness becomes relevant. Grass weakness becomes relevant. Maybe there's some sort of weakness box deck that gets built. Or you just go all in on Kecleon. Maybe you go Kecleon Cafe Master or Kecleon Lost Box still sees a lot of play. Having to run rare candies and fossils, though, can get a little bit awkward, but the concept to be had there. So the interesting thing about fossil Pokemon, though, they are going back to having specific items to evolve into them. So we're getting Old Dome Fossil that's going to evolve into Kabuto. We haven't seen the one that's going to evolve up into Omanyte yet, but Old Dome Fossil, it's 60 HP basic when you put it in play. Doesn't count as a basic Pokemon until it's in play, though, so you can't start the game with it. It has to be played during your turn, which is a little bit awkward. But it does have an ability that makes it take 30 less damage from attacks. It's cool. I like it. It is a little unfortunate we're going back to a format where these are essentially basics into stage 1s into stage 2 and not just, hey, it's a fossil item. It evolves into any fossil Pokemon. So now you can't be running like split lines from a fossil box. Well, you can run split lines, but not coming from a specific basic. Like you'll have to run Old Dome Fossil. You'll have to run Amber for Aerodactyl, which we've also seen. Getting the old Amber Fossil, 60 HP, so same idea. This one, though, it's not affected by special conditions, so it does seem like they're all getting an ability, but it's just going to be slightly different. And then the Aerodactyl is also a stage 1, so do remember we can switch into this with Zoroark. Has Glide, 30 damage, fine, but the main thing we're looking at it for is Degeneration Arc. It's going to do 100 damage, and if your opponent's active Pokemon's an evolution Pokemon, you devolve it. That's nice. EX Pokemon have like 300 HP when they're a stage 2, but they're Stage 1s have like 90. So Aerodactyl can do under damage to them, pop them down, and then they get knocked out. I like that. There's definitely a concept there. And being a double colorless, you can attach DTE. Obviously, keep in mind, stage 1 guys that have 90 HP, you'll just have to attach a Vitality Band to the Aerodactyl to hit 90. So when they devolve, they're still getting knocked out. But definitely a concept to be had there. And last but not least of the recent reveals, we did see a Cubone. Has an ability, and it's going to make all of your Marowak do 30 more damage for each Cubone in play. So theoretically, if we got 4 Cubone, we're doing an extra 120 damage, which I know you're going, how are we getting 4 Cubone and Marowak? Well, Marowak's the stage 1, so Zoroark can become a Marowak. Cubone, though, also has an attack. Hit twice, 10 damage, flip 2 coins. You're never attacking with it. You're not using Cubone. Cubone's in here to scale up Marowak. And there's currently 2 Marowaks. So the upcoming one has Bone Throw. It's going to do 30 damage to the active and then 30 damage to one of your opponent's bench. The active damage can be scaled up with the Cubone. The bench damage, unfortunately, isn't. Cubone's only applying for the active Pokemon, but it's interesting that you can kind of be doing some chip damage to set up things for follow-up knockouts. The second attack, though, Boundless Power, does 120 damage. Pokemon can't attack during your next turn, though, so you do have to like switch around or escape rope around. 120 if we have 4 Cubones, because this comes from a Zoroark, we're doing 240. It's all right. You can play Grant, bring it up to 270. Attach a Choice Belt, bring it up to 300. It's not bad. Definitely not bad. It'd be great if we could scale up a little bit higher, though, or use a different Marowak, which we can, because there's another one that's still in format, being an E-Block card, which has the Bone Meringue attack, I believe it's called. We flip 2 coins, 90 damage for each heads. We can do 180. With 4 Cubone brings that up to 300. With Grant, 330. With Choice Belt, 360. Everything's going to die. Even if they resist, they will die. I think that's going to be the Marowak I try out. And definitely keen to give it a go. It is another coin flip deck, so we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I like that. I like the kind of combo decks like that. There's also some reveals of like more collector type stuff. So we're getting TCG apparel featuring Yu Nagaba's artwork. So that's the guy that did the the upcoming Eevee artworks though, where it's just like very simple style. And you can get them on t-shirts. So you can get one where it's like Pokemon card artwork. You can get one where it's just like straight up an Eevee. And then one where it's got all the Eeveelutions. I feel like this will be a little bit easier to get your hands on than the actual Eevee cards. So probably just going to pick up one of these t-shirts, to be honest. But still going to hold out and try and grab the singles of the cards. What about you guys? You a fan of this simple art style? I like it. It's chill. And it's Eevee. He's a good boy. He's one of the best boys. That's pretty much it for the notable news this past week, though. There has been a couple of decks that came out. So there's Palkia V-Star deck that you can pick up. I believe the Ampharos and Lucario decks, I don't know if they got released or the lists came out, but that's something that's coming up. So if you're looking to buy some sealed product and get into the game that way, definitely something to keep in mind. The Palkia deck is very solid. You get 4 copies of VIP Pass. I think it's a 3-2 line of the Palkia V-Star and a Radiant Greninja, as well as some Bibarels. So if you haven't bought any physical cards, you've just been playing online and you're looking for a point to jump in, now's a great time. There's also the Mew VMAX deck that came out a while ago. So it's another great alternative to just be able to buy something off the shelf and get right into the game. That's pretty much it though for the news. So if you like these kind of videos, please let me know in the comments down below and I'll make sure to have one coming out each week for you. Till next time though, take care of yourself.